Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central, and we're talking today about the history of Donald Trump and the band Guns N' Roses, and it really isn't so much a history between Donald Trump and Guns N' Roses, it's more about Donald Trump and Axl Rose. They've kind of had a long history together, starting really back in 1991 with the release of the Use Your Illusion records, and this is just merely a video talking about their history. Doesn't offer any kind of endorsement or criticism of Donald Trump, so please leave your political comments at home. This is just to inform you Guns N' Roses fans about how Donald Trump is somewhat involved in the history of Guns N' Roses. Now, Donald Trump was a fan of Guns N' Roses back in the day. In fact, there was an article published on the internet basically detailing the 25th anniversary of the Use Your Illusion records back in September of 2016. And when the Illusion records came out on September 17th, 1991, Donald Trump was in a limousine with 5 models heading for Tower Records in Manhattan on his way to buy Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, which were Guns N' Roses' new albums at the time. So Guns N' Roses' manager at that time was Doug Goldstein. He did an interview on Talking Metal, talking about being the manager of Guns N' Roses, and shared some stories. He talked about a time when Guns N' Roses were playing 5 shows at Madison Square Garden in 1992. Now, I want to correct Doug Goldstein. Guns N' Roses never played Madison Square Garden in 1992, and they never played 5 shows straight. They played Madison Square Garden in late 1991, and they only played 3 shows. So, Doug talked about a time when Donald Trump showed up backstage at one of these shows in Madison Square Garden. So Doug said he heard his name called, and he looked and he saw Donald Trump. And Donald Trump said, "Can you make a pass for me?" To which Doug said, "Yeah, sure." So being quizzical, Doug asked Donald Trump, "Why are you here?" To which Donald replied, "I want to meet the Donald Trump of rock and roll." And Doug Goldstein said, "I give up." And Donald Trump said, "You know, Doug, when you're an underdog, everybody puts you to the top, press, your fans, and once you get to the top, they jerk your ass back to the ground. That's what Axl Rose is, so I introduced Axl to him after the show," said Doug Goldstein. Now, following this meeting, rumors started to circulate that Axl and Donald actually hit it off, and it was reported that Trump may grease Axl's film. So according to many articles that were coming out around the time, Donald Trump was ready to rock and bankroll. So Guns N' Roses, the popular group led by headline-making singer Axl Rose, is planning a documentary along the lines of Madonna's movie Truth or Dare about his concerts and tours. A source says the group is negotiating with Donald Trump for funding. So during Guns N' Roses' 2.5-year tour, which went from 1991 to the summer of 93, Guns N' Roses had camera crews following them wherever they went, and they were eventually going to release a documentary that was tentatively titled Perfect Crime. Now, it never saw the light of day, and it was supposed to be released in 1994, but due to infighting in the band and tensions, it never got released. And according to the article, it said Axl Rose went to Atlantic City and performed for Donald Trump on a special occasion, said the source. It was sort of a private affair, and Trump won't talk about it. The two hit it off. Despite Axl's reputation for being wild, Trump found him to be quite nice. He's actually sort of shy. Axl likes the idea of Trump doing it because Trump is such a promoter. Look at what he's done with Marla Maples' career. When asked about whether Trump was nervous about the controversy surrounding the singer, as Axl was recently arrested on an assault charge, a friend of the developer said, "Controversy, he lives on it." And Trump wasn't available for comment according to the article, and Bryn Bridenthal, who is a spokesperson for Geffen Records, never returned calls either. Now, years would go by until Donald Trump and Axl Rose actually were mentioned in the same sentence. In 2012, Guns N' Roses were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and one person absent from the actual induction ceremony was Axl Rose. So it was unknown for the longest time in the lead up to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony in 2012 as to whether Axl was going to show up. He had done interviews previously stating that he may be open to the idea, but just prior to the actual event in April of 2012, Axl released a 1,000-word letter stating that he would not be attending the ceremony and that he would not want to be inducted. He cited many reasons, including that the Hall of Fame induction ceremony doesn't appear to be somewhere I'm actually wanted or respected. Now, Donald Trump chimed in on Twitter around the time the actual induction ceremony happened. He said Axl Rose should take his Rock Hall 2012 honors and be happy. Stop the no induction nonsense. Do it for your fans at Axl Rose. While Donald Trump didn't agree with Axl's decision, Axl still had some supporters, including Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan. He was doing interviews around the same time, and he defended Axl, saying, "I've actually come out in a few interviews and said that I actually really appreciate the position that Axl was in and why he didn't go." So Corgan told an Australian radio station, Triple M, that I think he felt like he was being set up and in a way that was not wise to go because he would have only come out like he was being a spoiled brat. He didn't want to play nice with the old team, and he obviously has his personal reasons. And the minute he gets up on stage with the original band and everything else he does that isn't like that, it's almost like as if he's trying not to do something and he hasn't been doing it in many years. Now, fast forward to August of 2015, Slash is out promoting his record with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators called World on Fire. And this is the same interview where Slash revealed that him and Axl Rose were friends again, and this is where all the speculation about a Guns N' Roses reunion really started. But also in the same interview, Slash was asked about his opinion about Donald Trump. And I've linked to the interview down below if you want to see it in its entirety, but I'll paraphrase what Slash said. He called it entertaining. He said that Donald Trump probably got a lot further than what people thought he would, and also said that people probably appreciate his straightforwardness and how he's different from a lot of other politicians who are full of BS. And he was also asked who he was going to vote for at that point in time, to which Slash said he wasn't really backing anyone and it's too early to tell. Now fast forward to 2016, Guns N' Roses partially reunite. Slash and Duff McKagan are back in the band, and their first show together in almost 23 years is going to be at the Troubadour in Los Angeles, which was the site of Guns N' Roses' first show back in 1985. Now, while there's limited footage of the actual concert, one fan took to Twitter and talked about how Axl made a slight reference to Donald Trump, saying, "You guys chose the set list, I'm just here like Donald Trump, I consult myself." Now, you may be wondering, well, which party does Axl vote for? Well, turns out he's not really much of a voter. So in 2012, he was on Jimmy Kimmel's show, and he was there to promote Guns N' Roses' residency in Las Vegas. And Jimmy Kimmel asked Axl, who are you voting for in the 2012 presidential election? And Axl revealed he's never really voted before, and he usually tends to lean Democratic. And since he lives in California, California always goes Democratic, so he doesn't really vote. Although, ironically enough, his actual residency in Vegas was called Appetite for Democracy, and they actually put out a DVD concert called Appetite for Democracy, and Axl put out an album called Chinese Democracy that was, of course, inspired by all the Chinese democracy movements. Now, fast forward to after the US presidential election, and this is the first time that Axl actually tweets about Donald Trump. So, on November 18, 2016, Axl says, "Good people don't listen to, acknowledge, nominate, or elect people like Senator Jeff Sessions." So Axl was referring to Donald Trump's pick for Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, and when he was nominated, there was a lot of people who were for him and many people against him. So we're not going to get into the whole discussion of whether he's qualified or not. All we know is that Axl was not a fan of his. And Axl's second tweet regarding Trump came a day later, saying, "Hamilton cast harassed Pence. Do you ever stop whining? An apology? Seriously? You won. This is a job. Get on with it or get out of the kitchen." And Axl was referring to the play Hamilton that's right now on Broadway. And, you can't get tickets to it. It's one of the most popular plays that's actually out there right now. And Vice President Mike Pence actually went to go watch the play. And the cast actually addressed Pence publicly in front of the entire audience, to which Trump wasn't too pleased and basically demanded an apology. Around the time that this had happened, Guns N' Roses were in South America doing a month-long tour throughout the continent. And during a performance in Sao Paulo, Brazil, Axl improvised a line during the song Civil War to make a jab at Donald Trump. The original line in the song Civil War goes, "Look at the fear we're feeding." Instead, Axl changed it to, "Look at the fear that Trump is feeding." If you guys want to see footage of this actual performance, I've linked to it down below. Now, Guns N' Roses' next reference to Donald Trump wouldn't be quite as subtle. So Guns N' Roses were playing a show in Mexico City, and towards the end of the concert, they actually invited people from the audience to come on stage and smash a Donald Trump piñata. Now, if you want to see the footage, I've also linked to the footage down below as well. Now let's fast forward to January of 2017. It's Donald Trump's inauguration. They're having trouble getting a lot of A-list celebrities and musical acts to actually appear at the inauguration. And one of the performers at the inauguration was going to be the Radio City Rockettes, who are going to be performing on January 20th. However, one of the Rockettes, Phoebe Pearl, went on a Donald Trump rant on Instagram and said she felt embarrassed and disappointed to appear at the event, and that she usually doesn't use social media to make a political stand, but she felt overwhelmed with emotion. Now, Axl said more power to Phoebe Price. I think he just got her name incorrect. Her actual name is Phoebe Pearl. Now, if you look at the date of this news story, it's December 23rd, 2016. The date of Axl's tweet is December 23rd, 2016. Now, over the course of the last couple months, Axl's been doing some tweets about Donald Trump. I'm not going to go over all of them, but he tweeted about the Russiagate investigation. He also tweeted about Robert Mueller, who's going to be doing the investigation into Russia, and he did make a reference to something a lot of people didn't know about. He said, "Hope Mueller does better than he did with Interscope." So Interscope was Guns N' Roses record company. It previously was Geffen Records, and Axl made it clear that he was not happy with the way Chinese democracy was handled and ripped the label. And Axl wasn't the only one. His former bassist Tommy Stinson also said that the album was effed over by Interscope Records and Jimmy Iovine, who was the head of Interscope Records. So one of Axl's criticisms of Interscope Records was that the record company actually discouraged Guns N' Roses from making a music video for their album Chinese Democracy, and it really wasn't discussed until Best Buy, who actually acquired the exclusive rights to Chinese Democracy, requested a music video. So the actual Interscope and Robert Mueller thing that Axl was referring to was a 2012 story that was basically involving an investigation that the FBI was conducting involving a drug smuggling ring that actually used Interscope's office. Now, Axl Rose isn't the only member of Guns N' Roses who's been critical of Donald Trump. Even people in Axl's band have also tweeted a lot about him, including their rhythm guitarist Richard Fortus, as well as the band's tour manager Del James. So that does it for this episode of Guns N' Roses True Story. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts below in the comments section. Please keep it civil, otherwise your comments will be deleted. And please follow me on Twitter and Facebook. The links to my social media channels are down below. And be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do. I'll see you guys in my next episode of Guns N' Roses True Story. Take care.